Talk 3, let's talk crime each week, of course, in association with CrimeCon, the world's number one true crime event. We delve into the minds of criminals and those who chase them, psychology of offenders, forensic breakthroughs, the fight against wrongful convictions, gripping insights from some of Britain's biggest names. I want to take you back to 2018. Raneem Oudeh, who made endless emergency calls to 999 over her ex-partner over the course of one night. She and her mother were later that night tragically stabbed to death by the perpetrator. A subsequent inquest had the police admitting their handling of the 999 calls had materially contributed to the deaths of these two women. Let's speak to Norris, OBE, who is someone who's looked into researches and is an activist, an advocate and a public speaker on this issue. Nour, good afternoon to you.
Hi, good afternoon.
Nice to have you with us. Just give us a little bit of background. I mentioned the case of Raneem and her mother. Tell us more.
Yes, thank you for having me on here.
Pleasure.
Give my views. Raneem was my niece, and Khaola was her mom, and she was my sister. Sadly, we lost them in 2018. And there was a perpetrator, obviously, of my niece's ex, who she left him, and he decided to murder both of them. But obviously, this has a bigger root to it, as in the sense that there was a huge failing from the authority, from the police. And when I say authorities, social workers, hospitals, teams, everywhere. And especially the policing, when Raneem, she made 13 calls from April to August, begging for help and begging for him to be removed from her property multiple times. And on the night, she called 4 times and spoke to the police 4 times. She called them 4 times and spoke to them 5 times. Unfortunately, on the 5th call, she was begging for them to come out in the morning, and then they heard her screaming. That's when he attacked her. Now, this has brought a huge, big case into the attention. We went to the inquest. I was on this journey. From the moment we lost them, I was there. And I promised that I will take this and to the end, really. And we went to the inquest, and we had all the evidence for 3 weeks, just purely looking at the failing of the policing, West Midlands Police. And at the time, 2018, domestic abuse up to that point, still until today, but more so than domestic abuse, was fairly dismissed. The way how it was viewed, how it was being looked at, and really cases like Raneem's cases wasn't really taken any seriously. And their death was preventable. Mm-hmm. Sadly, it was preventable, and that came up in the inquest. So we had 33 police officers. They all contributed towards my sister and my niece's death because of multiple failures. And ever since then, I've been on the journey. It's called Secure Life, where I decided to take the finding of the inquest and all the recommendation from the coroner and making them into a law. And I've been on this journey for 7 years now, and we've got a law called Raneem's Law. And this law, it's very strong in a sense that it's been implemented around the country, but it's going to take a bit of time to be able to be implemented because of how big it is. And I can explain about that.
Yeah, what does that law specifically do that wasn't happening before?
Right. Raneem's Law, it covers multiple things. It's a bit like an umbrella. But the first thing that it does is safeguards people. So the first response, when someone calls 999, they'll be able to get the right response, the professional help, and the safeguarding team behind them. So the systems has changed, the whole system. The police officers were all trained. So we have training going across the whole country about domestic abuse, honor abuse, stalking, harassment, and sexual abuse, and many more. So they are very familiar. If they are out for a call or they go to attend a scene or something like that, they know what to look for, and they can see the red flags, and they can see what's happening from the training. So we have specialists in a control room, 999 control room. We have specialists, and we have some charities like a Women's Aid and other charities who link up with police station, and they there who go through the whole calls and filter any calls that they could be there's a suspicion of them being cases of domestic abuse. And then we have a specialist who deal with the cases of domestic abuse, who safeguard and follow the case and make sure that that person not only rescued them, but is safeguarded onwards.
And nobody would disagree with that. I'm guessing here, and I'm sure you heard this, Nour, come up lots, that the police might say, call handlers might say, look, we get thousands of calls on a daily basis, and often, you know, it's a smaller domestic dispute. It's somebody who is upset, but they're not in danger. You know, there's no way we can ever fully ascertain that every call is likely to lead to something like this. You would have heard, I'm sure, people make that argument over the years.
We can't save everyone. That's understandable. As a human, we understand there's a scale of how much you can rescue people, but not to have anything at all. That's a complete failing. Raneem begged and gave so much evidence. You're talking about here, and now we have police officers who can identify things even without the victim hinting to anything, because they can't. So going from a person who's begging for help and not getting any response and not getting any help, to actually police officers can identify someone in risk just by hinting. A person calling and saying, I want a taxi, and then they know how to rescue that person because they know what to say and they know what to look for. So we have. So yes, it's true, but in the same time, if we don't have nothing, we are against an aggressive, growing problem in the country, and it's really a crisis a place, especially when we went to the inquest. I could not get my head around how bad it was. And our coroner, she had to actually, she had to stop the court hearing, and she said in her 30 odd years, she never had to do that, and raise a concern to the government as we were having the inquest, to say, as we're talking now in the inquest, as this is happening, there's people are under risk, and there will be potential problems, as we can evident from the case, from the evidence in the court. So that is a huge risk. And if you look at the statistics in the country, we have a woman get killed every 3 days. So, and one person takes their own life every day because of abuse. So if you look at it, really, a woman is most likely to die at home than on the street.
Yeah. And I guess in terms of the amounts of calls, as I mentioned a second ago, it will always be better if the police send a response when, you know, it turns out that nothing is happening. It is better that that is the case than to send no one at all, in case something like this is happening.
Imagine if they don't really respond to the victim, then the perpetrators picks on that. Like my niece's perpetrator picked on that and abused her through that, because look, no one's going to help you. The system's failing, and I know all the loops, all the how can I can manipulate the system, and that's exactly what happens. But as we speak now, there's many calls go through 999 are for domestic abuse and honor abuse, and many more, and it's more than you think. Actually, people seem to think that there isn't many calls goes for that, but actually there is loads that. And having people who are specialists, they can filter and they can identify and they can gather evidence. Even they have now a camera, they can straight away speak to the victim and take in evidence there and then, rather than leaving it. And then the victim are more under risk, and the kids as well, the children.
Your niece's ex-partner, Janbaz Tarin, was found guilty of this. What happened?
He was sentenced to life, minimum 32 years. And hope he never leaves, because perpetrators like that never learn from them anything. They come out only to commit more crimes. And this is another thing we need to look at. He got a long sentence because of his age or because of what's happened, etc. But a lot of victims lose their life, and their perpetrators only get 12 years, 13 years because of their age, under 21. Potentially, they come out of prison to commit another crime against somebody else. And that's another thing that a lot of campaigners, they are campaigning about that. So the system fully needs to look at the perpetrators and look at the system and make it more tighter around people who not just who needs help, but actually how to actually tighten the sentence for perpetrators. Raneem's law as well looks at how can we safeguard the person by getting, they used to call it non-administration order, which my niece Raneem had to go and get it herself, pay from her own pocket, go to court, put herself under so much danger, because the most dangerous time for a victim is when they leave. So she had to do all that herself. Now, under Raneem's law, no. A victim will be safeguarded under domestic abuse safeguarding, and they'll have a whole team to work and help them. So we make sure that they don't get hurt by the perpetrator, and the perpetrator can't come near them. And if they break any orders, they will be held accountable much more than they used to be before.
Let's hope so. And the more people that are aware of this law, then and the more information and exposure about it, clearly the better. Nour, thank you for speaking with us. We really appreciate that. Nour Norris, OBE, domestic abuse activist, advocate and public speaker. Thank you to her. And of course, this is part of our series of CrimeCon. You may remember we talked about this months ago when CrimeCon was in London. In September, it's heading to Manchester, 27th of September in Manchester. And if you are fascinated and disturbed even by these deep dives into crime, you might want to hear this. Our friends at CrimeCon are offering Talk listeners an exclusive discount. If you use the code TALK at the checkout, you can get 10% off your tickets, and Nour will be speaking there as well in Manchester. So you'll hear a fuller example of exactly where we're at on this particular crime. And of course, you can download and listen to the Talk Crime podcast on your favourite podcast app.